make your day richer than it was before. Got some good times knocking upon your front door.
Hello, friends. Welcome to this Thursday. It's Thursday. And I don't know if we still do Throwback Thursday out there in the world on social media, but here's ours. Oh, that's the wrong one. This is from 2011. Today's the anniversary of the airing of my very first show that I did in front of a studio audience. It was called Richard Karlinski's Primetime Special on Milwaukee Public Television. This was part of the opening sequence, and it was inspired kind of by The Wizard of Oz. It has the Wizard of Oz elements because I love The Wizard of Oz. And so we reached out to Warner Brothers or whoever owns the rights to it, and we wanted like a 5-second clip, the clip of Glinda, I think doing the like where she does her wand over for the poppy seeds in the field, and they wanted like $15,000 for it. And we were like, it's for a student project, and we have like $10, and so they wouldn't give it to us. So there were some artists on the crew that drew a caricature of Glinda. I used my cat Kyoko as Toto. She was a black cat. It's really cute. It's out there on YouTube. If you go to the Make Your Day Richer YouTube channel, there's a spot in there that it's linked in there. It's a really good show. Lisa Gatewood was there. Leslie Kagan was there. So we had music. It was such a fun, exciting. I was the first person to have a show on that filmed at Milwaukee Public Television that had a studio audience. So I feel like I was, I don't know, a groundbreaking. It was really good. And I won an award. So happy anniversary to all of those involved. Okay. Speaking of anniversaries and things we love, tomorrow's Rosie's birthday, and we are throwing her a birthday party here on this show. So I've invited some really fun people. We've got Colin Sheehan, who has been in Rosie's life since he was a little boy, and he has a great story of how he met her on her show. And by chance, through, I think, standby tickets, she ended up giving him this little career, and that he has blown up into this giant career. And I'm so excited to talk to him about that. We have Chrissy, who is Rosie O'Donnell, O-H, who's a Rosie impersonator, is going to come on the show. And we're also talking to Guide Dogs of America, which is an organization she is working with and is making a documentary about. And they do guide dogs for service people, blind people, and children under 12 with autism. So it's going to be a really good show tomorrow. And huge news. She actually knows about it because I commented on her Substack yesterday, because she is going to be on a show called The Late Late Show over in Ireland, which is the longest running talk show in the world. And she's going to be a guest tomorrow night live. And I said, well, I'm doing a live show about you tomorrow. Why don't you join? And she liked it. So people, she knows that we're doing a show about her tomorrow. Will she show up? I was going to put the link, just the link to like join, but then I didn't want any of the like crazy people to come on and, ruin the show. Anyway, that's tomorrow. Very exciting. It's also Willow's birthday tomorrow. All my favorite people. Tony's birthday is on Saturday. Willow's birthday is tomorrow. Rosie's birthday tomorrow. This is a good week. And it's the first day of spring. So welcome. Okay, here we go. What else do I have to tell you though? Lots of good things. Oh, it's also today is Jordan Lally birthday, who, if you love our theme song, and everybody loves our theme song, he is in the band, the Big Infinite, and they wrote and produced that song for us. So happy birthday, Jordan. He does great work. Check out the Ed Lally Foundation and all the work he's doing for mental health in kids. Okay, and let's check our views, shall we? We started 2025 with 100,000 views. That was my goal. We started the show last June, and we were so close. It was like, let's do a goal of 100,000 by January 1st, and we hit it. And now let's see where we're at. That's right, 326,662. We like exact numbers around here. So thank you to everybody who watches this show, who shares this show, who supports this show. I can't thank you enough. And now's a good time to just press that share button if you're watching or you're listening. Just share. And let's get to 327 by tomorrow, shall we? Okay. And okay, so I was scrolling I think it was last week. We had Andy Page, who is on General Hospital, fantastic actress on General Hospital, and she is one of the hosts on QVC. So I'm scrolling through Instagram yesterday, and I see that QVC is hiring a host. They're looking for a new host. Well, QVC, I don't want to make it any more difficult for you to find because it's very difficult. So, I mean, I'm here. And I could be there in Pennsylvania if you need me to be. And so, oh, good. Ed's here. Yes, he just got, Ed's here. He got here. Perfect. I love it. And what they want is I have to apply. But I mean, come on, QVC. And they want you to have some videos out there so they can see it. So I think if we're watching and this is what they want us to use. Hashtag QVC host search 2025. So I think if you're watching, we just start using that hashtag. Just start commenting on the shows, my show, and then they'll see it. So if you're watching right now, just hashtag QVC host search 2025. Boom, done. All right, that's all I have to tell you. And I'll tell you as soon as I get that job, okay? That's it. So we have a great show today. And I think I should shut up and we should start it. So my first guest, let's do it. Imagine fighting in a war zone while simultaneously receiving the devastating news that your own brother has been killed in action. This is the reality Scott DeLuzio faced in Afghanistan in 2010. Scott's story, told with unflinching honesty in his book, Surviving Son, is a powerful reminder of the emotional toll of war. Through his book and his Drive On podcast, Scott is dedicated to providing hope and healing to fellow veterans and their families. He's a true advocate for the military community, and we're honored to have him here with us. Please welcome Scott DeLuzio. Thank you, sir.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for being here. I want to first talk about, when something like that, so tragic, traumatic, happens, even if you're also not going through something as crazy as being in a war, it can be so difficult to talk about. How are you removed enough from it now when you're talking about when you hear stuff like that you don't have, how do you not have a reaction? I guess is the real question.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure that out, to be perfectly honest. Honestly, earlier today, I was taking a look at something, just, kind of scrolling through some old social media posts, and I came across something that I posted like around Memorial Day, and it still got me choked up.
Yeah.
Even now, over 14 years later, it still gets to me. And sometimes it's unexpected. Like today, it was, it's, just a normal day, and we're nothing crazy, nothing sentimental about the day or anything like that. It's just I happen to be looking at something and it just caught me off guard, I guess.
Can you talk a little bit about how you handle that? Because you're obviously out talking about it publicly. You wrote a book about it. How do you handle that when emotions do come up like that?
Yeah, I mean, they do come up, and I just let them happen. When they happen, they happen. And I think it's just a normal thing to get emotional over emotional issues. When you have a close relative, a close friend, anybody close to you who passes away, it's going to be a difficult time for you. And they say time heals all these kind of wounds and that type of stuff, which I think is kind of a bunch of crap.
Yeah.
Time changes things. To be perfectly honest, I think it changes, and you become more comfortable with the new reality of life, the reality of life without that person in it, the reality of that person that you might have relied on or counted on, or hey, I'm having a bad day, I always can pick up the phone and call that person or hang out with that person or whatever. You learn to just deal with that reality of that person is not that person anymore. I can't call that
Mm.
person for, support. I can't say, hey, you want to go, shoot around a golf or something. And, I can't do that with that person anymore. So now it's either you got to find somebody else to replace that, if that's something that you need, especially if it's a, person in your life that can help you out in tough times. Yeah, we all need those types of people in our lives. And not to say that it's going to replace that hole, that emptiness that person has left for you, but you have to kind of look around and say, okay, well, who can I talk to now?
Yeah.
And sometimes the answer is still, honestly, it's still him. Sometimes it's just in my prayers. I'm talking to him, and it's like, man, I wish you were here. I wish you were here to
Mhm.
see all these cool things that were going on in life. And it's tragic, but it's kind of just how you have to get through it.
Yeah. Tell everybody about your book, Surviving Son.
Yeah.
And I'm curious what brought you or what made the decision to write about it.
The book was, it started off as just notes that I was writing down after I got home from Afghanistan. After my brother passed and all that stuff happened, I just started writing down notes, almost like journaling, but more, it wasn't like a intentional journaling. It was really, for me, it was just, I wanted to remember places, people, all the important facts that over time, as we get older and our memories start to fade, you start to, maybe remember things differently than they actually happened. And I didn't want that to happen. I wanted to remember things as they were actually happening. And so, the closer you are to it, the better your memory is. So I just wrote down all the stuff that I could. And then I kind of just forgot about it, and it just sat in a drawer for years. And, a few years ago, I said, I feel like this needs to be a story that's told to more people. Not only I wanted to put it out there, at a bare minimum for my kids to be able to read, so that they, when as they grow up, they might have questions like, "What did Dad do in the war?" And what happened to my uncle, and all that kind of stuff. And so I was like, okay, at least I got 3 readers, So
and make them buy the book too.
and,
Yeah.
yeah, right. Yeah, there's no gifting situation
Yeah.
here. No, I'm not handing you a book. Go to Amazon and get it yourself. No, but I wanted at least them to have it. But then I was thinking, like, think about all the wars that our country has been in. Go back in time all the way to the Revolution, and how many stories do you know of individual soldiers who fought in the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, all the different wars that took place all the way through, to today? And how many individuals do we know about, other than heroic Medal of Honor recipients and those types of things? Like, those stories get told, they get made into movies and all that kind of stuff, right? But just your average Joe, what happens. And I'm not saying that what happened to me is average or typical, and I don't think anybody's story is average or typical, but just a soldier out there doing his job, what is that like? And nobody really tells these stories. People don't know, like, who was that person, growing up, what caused that person to get into the military, what's their motivation, what makes them tick, and all that kind of stuff. And you get to kind of learn about these people, and war now becomes a little more human. It's not just, oh, those guys are bad, let's go fight them and kill them, and yeah, let's go do all that kind of stuff, right? It's like, wait a minute, there's a real person who's going over there, and there's a chance that person may not come home, and there are people who love that person back home. They may have parents or a spouse or kids or whatever. They have people who care about them. And now it's like, okay, well, there might be things that are worth fighting for, but are they really worth it? And so I'm not like saying this as a anti-war type person at all. I'm 100% not that. I'm just, let's be smart about it. Let's not just go rush off to war because it's a knee-jerk reaction, because we may find ourselves in another 20-year war with thousands of families torn apart because of the deaths, like what happened with my brother.
I think war is one of those things where, like you said, it's if it's not happening in your home, if you can be so removed from it,
Yeah.
right? Like it's like a fantasy that we're at war, that we're, because you don't know anybody who's out there doing it.
Right. And even as a soldier myself, when and I talk about this in the book, but when I found out that my brother was killed, I had trouble processing that. Like the initial reaction was when I was told that he basically his unit got ambushed and that he got hit. That was the message that was delivered to me, and my initial thought was, oh well, he's hurt somewhere. He's at an army hospital somewhere, and where can I go to kind of comfort him, or maybe he needs blood, or something like that. And those were my initial thoughts. Was that it never crossed my mind that he could be killed. Like in my mind, it was like he's invincible. Like that's just something that happens to other people. Yeah, sure, he can get hurt, right? I trust me, I know he could be hurt. I was his older brother. I did plenty of that when we were kids. But I was like, okay, yeah, sure. So he can get hurt, but dead? No, that could never happen. And as far as I was concerned, and when it was like, no, he was killed. It was like a punch to the gut. I was like, how do I deal with that now? And I've talked about it before, but on other platforms. But a lot of people, like when they face a near-death experience, they have that their life flashes before their eyes, like all the way from their childhood all the way through to the current day. I kind of had the opposite, where life flashed forward, and I started envisioning things where my brother would no longer be a part of. He was supposed to get married about a year later. So he wasn't going to do that. He wasn't going to be able to have kids. He wasn't going to be able to, all the things that he wasn't going to be able to do. I just flash forward all the holidays and things like that we wouldn't be able to enjoy together. And it just, it just started to piss me off, to be perfectly honest,
Yeah. That's so interesting that you go into a job like that not thinking of how seriously it is. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe otherwise, who would do it if you
Sure.
know that that rate is so high? Who would want to do that?
And to that point, so my brother had previously deployed. Before that deployment, he had been in Iraq, and people he served with were killed in action or seriously wounded and things like that. And he knew that that's a possibility firsthand. He had seen that. Actually, he had gone as kind of a supplemental force, like to replace some people who were either killed or wounded. And so he knew very well firsthand that that's a possibility. And actually, as we were getting on the plane to leave, our parents were at the airport and everything like that. He and I were, about to get on the plane, and he had tears coming down his face, and I was like, waving back to them. So it was just my own ignorance of the situation,
Was it difficult when you're going through all of your writing, and was it difficult to go revisit all of that and organize that? That had to have been.
Yeah, it really was. As far from a writing perspective, I kind of tiptoed around the part talking about his death. I wrote all the intro, the beginning, and all that kind of stuff, and then I sort of skipped over that part and started writing the end. It's just me procrastinating. It's one of those things I knew I'd had to get to eventually. I just didn't want to do it. I don't know why. It's like maybe if I put it in words, it becomes real. It's like it's been real for years. It's just for some reason I didn't want to revisit it. Then when I finally did revisit it, it was, I'll be honest, it was tough to write. Some of the stuff just, it opened up old wounds, and I was, as I was going through the whole writing process, there's even some stuff in there that I didn't know until I kind of discovered it as I was writing. Part of it, the book has a detailed account of what happened the day he was killed from his unit's perspective. I wasn't there when he was killed, but I have 20 or 25 sworn statements from soldiers who were with him, and I have copies of all those, and I was able to piece together the events of that. And so reading through all that, doing that research, then compiling it into a meaningful format that we were able to put out a accurate description of what happened, that was hard. That was really hard, especially some of those things I hadn't read before.
Yeah. Was it therapeutic at all too to do that, or was it just like an awful experience?
A little therapeutic in a way for me. I knew that what I was doing, I wasn't necessarily doing it for me. I was doing it so that other people could learn about who we were, um, and especially for my brother, because he doesn't have this ability to put his story out there anymore. And it's like
Mhm.
I felt like an obligation to tell his story, put it in writing in a way that this book is now going to outlive both of us. And, that way, generations from now, someone could pick up the book and read it and know who he was. And that to me was a super important piece of this, because I wanted people to know who he was. Um, even though he's not around to make his mark in the world, I'll do it for him.
Yeah, I love that. Where did you or why did you decide on the name Surviving Son?
So there is a Army regulation called Surviving Sons and Daughters. That's kind of the title in the regulation, and it refers to one of the ways that a soldier can be discharged from the military
Mm.
is if they are a surviving son or daughter in a family where another service member was killed, in very much in the manner that, like my brother, didn't necessarily have to be in combat. It could have been, stateside, in a training accident or, some other type of thing like that. They allow you to request an early discharge, which is what I ultimately did, for various reasons. But I honestly, at that point in time, I just was not going to be a great soldier. And I, at that point, I was in a leadership role. I had soldiers who were under me, and I kind of just didn't care anymore. I just gave up on the
For good
military.
reason. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I said, these people deserve good leadership. They're good soldiers. They need good leadership, and I'm not going to be that. I'm not going to be a good leader anymore, going forward. And so I said, I think this is just a good time for us to just part ways. And so
Mm.
I utilized that kind of Army regulation, I guess, if you want to call it, to get out of the military. And yeah, and that's kind of where the title came from.
Tell everybody about your podcast.
Yeah, so the podcast is a drive on podcast, and I started a few, probably 5.5 years ago or so, almost 6 years now. And I started it because the guys that I served with overseas, we all in my unit, we all made it home, and we came home safely, a little banged up, but for the most part, we were still breathing, and so that was a plus. But we started losing guys when we came home. Guys started taking their own lives, after we came home, and one was obviously too many, but then there's a second, and then the numbers just seemed like they never wanted to
They don't
stop. And
stop. Yeah.
yeah, and so I was like, what, there's obviously an issue. I was dealing with my own issues, PTSD, the grief from losing my brother, all that kind of stuff. And I saw the guys that I was serving with. I was like, oh, I'm not the only one who has some issues that needs dealing with. And then at that time, I started to become aware of, like they have a number, the 22 a day, veterans who take their lives. And I started to become aware of that. And I was like, well, that's just a lot of people. And I wanted to do something to first off, let other service members and veterans know that they're not alone. So
Mm.
I interview other folks who have gone through hell and back, and they came through, and they're able to talk about their experiences and say, yeah, it sucked. This is what I did to kind of work through it, and kind of serve as a source of inspiration and hope for other folks. But then I also interview people from like nonprofits and other organizations that offer services to veterans that
Mm.
a lot of times veterans don't really know about. They know about the
Yeah.
VA, Veterans Affairs, and they know all about that. And a lot of times people don't want to deal with the VA because they just have a bad rap, and people have their opinions about it. I won't get into all that, but there's a ton of other services out there, a ton of other resources available. And so I interview people about their services, just to raise awareness and let people know, like, hey, there's a ton of stuff out there. Like, and you can get help, and it doesn't have to be through the VA.
In so many different ways. I
Yeah.
used to work for an arts and health nonprofit, and we worked through the VA and worked with veterans doing live music,
Yeah.
visual arts, and it was fantastic. Those were some of the best classes.
I mean, there's
Uh,
so many different things out there. I mean, if you like the outdoors, there's surfing,
mhm.
there's dirt bike riding, there's equestrian things. I mean, gardening. You name it. There's somebody out there who found a way to apply this to veterans and help
Yeah,
people out. So, yeah.
yeah. What? How often does it come out, and when is it available?
Yeah, so it comes out every 2 episodes a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I've been doing that for the last few years.
Wow.
We're over 450 episodes at this point, and I'm blown away that I've actually stuck with it this long. When I first started, I was like maybe a 10, 12 episodes or so. That'll be sufficient.
That'll be
That'll
enough.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I look back and I'm like, holy crap, that was a long time ago. Um,
Good. What do you love most about your life right now?
Honestly, I just like being in a position right now to be able to help other people. In so many people are veterans, especially when they are going through crap. They don't want to be the type of people to go and ask for help. I don't know if
Mhm.
it's their pride or ego, whatever you want to call it. They just don't want to ask for help. But the way I see it is with a podcast, you can listen to that podcast, and nobody else in the world needs to know that you're listening to that podcast, and so you can get that help and inspiration, or find some resources, available to you, and you can find those things through that podcast, and you're just listening to it. You pop your headphones on, and nobody needs to know about that,
Yeah.
and so being in that kind of position to me just makes me feel like I'm making a difference. I'm hopefully keeping some people uh able to wake up tomorrow morning, versus whatever other alternative they may have had in their mind, and that to
Mm.
me is just like, you know thank God there are these technologies out there that I'm able to reach out and touch so many people.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your service and thank you for sharing your story. You're doing such great work, and it's so important. You're building that community which everybody needs.
Sure, absolutely. And I appreciate you, for allowing me to come on your platform and share what I do. And, hopefully some of your listeners kind of resonate with, what I had to say, and we can, uh, connect maybe and help some more people out along the way.
We'll come back anytime. I appreciate you being here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. His book is Life is Difficult. Are you feeling overwhelmed or like you could use a little support for your mental well being? Visit the Help Hub. It's the most comprehensive and inclusive free online destination for mental health resources, helpful tools, crisis hotlines, and supportive content. Just go to thehelphub.co to find the resources you need when you need them most. Unlike other resource pages, the Help Hub is divided into 16 different categories, ensuring that everyone in every community has access to the resources and support that matches their unique needs. Find the help you're looking for at thehelphub.co. Why am I not in here? There. I swear. I swear I know what I'm doing. My next guest is a true champion for lifelong learning and creativity. Ed Friedman is the co-founder of the remarkable nonprofit organization Lifetime Arts, which is dedicated to providing arts learning opportunities for older adults, which of course this is why he's here. Witnessing the incredible and creative and potential in people of all ages inspired Ed to publish his first book at 75. He's also a talented humor writer and playwright, and he's here to share his inspiring story. And he was here and then he left. And so let's bring him back out. Hi, Ed. How are you?
Hi, Richard. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being here. I want to start with the nonprofit Lifetime Arts. Tell everybody about that and where that came from.
Lifetime Arts was started in 2008 with my co-founder, Maura O'Malley. we had been serving on a committee in Westchester County. For people who are not familiar with New York geography, it's the county right above New York City. Um, and we decided to form this nonprofit. Maura came from an arts education background. My background was twofold. It was art services. I worked for the Bronx Council on the Arts for many years. I also ran a caregiver support group, so I worked with older
Oh
adults and their
wow.
families. And I did that for a long time. And we came together and we realized that arts offerings for older adults were most often either one-off programs or passive entertainment.
Hmm.
And we felt that there needed to be an upgrade of arts experiences for older people. And that was bolstered by the research done by Gene Cohn at George Washington University, finding that older adults that took part in professionally conducted arts learning programs had terrific outcomes, both emotional and physical. So we started this nonprofit. It was the two of us in an extra bedroom at her home. Her oldest son had gone off to college, and we started this just the two of us out of whole cloth. And we started in public libraries
Oh
because
wow.
libraries, we felt, are first of all age neutral. They don't discriminate, in fact welcome older adults. People know where they are. People feel safe in libraries, and libraries don't charge fees, public libraries. So
Mhm.
they were the perfect
Helpful when
reception.
you're a nonprofit. Yes.
Yeah. So we were able to get some grant funding, and once we were successful, we had some other foundations who came on board. Um, so after a number of years, it used to be just the two of us, and then were able to hire staff, were able to have an office, and eventually the staff is now I retired 3 years ago, um, but the staff I think now is up to 10, I think.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
and the organization has programs in 26 states, uh, mostly through public library systems or state arts councils.
How does that feel as the co-founder of this to have, I mean, and it's not even that old, really, when you think about it, to have
Yeah,
grown from one library into dozens of states like that?
yeah. No, it's an amazing kind of thing when you start this, you don't, at least I didn't really envision it growing to the extent that it did, because it's kind of a hard sell. When we first started doing this, there were a lot of people who, and some funders basically, that said, we want to give money to stuff for kids. Why are we
Yeah.
putting money in the arts for older people? What is that going to do? So we had to keep trotting out the research, and luckily the research kept going. So there was stuff we could hang our hat on, and it's terrific that it's grown so much.
Yes, yeah. Like I was saying earlier, I worked for an arts and health nonprofit, and we did that. We did the arts with adult patients, long-term patients in the hospital, veterans, and the healthcare workers, and the change in attitude and mood. People were actually healing
Yeah,
faster, simply because it's so simple by painting. It doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be
right,
anything.
right,
It just has
right,
to be. You just have to
right.
do it.
And
Yeah.
there's something called arts on prescription, which started in the UK, where
Yeah.
doctors were actually giving people uh, you know uh, instructions to go out and write poetry or paint a picture or
Yeah, that was on their prescription pads. Like,
yeah,
go to a museum. Go
yeah,
to yeah, we're getting there, I think, here in the States, but we're not there yet.
slowly. Yeah.
Yeah, yes. Did you grow up, I mean, it sounds like it, as a very creative, artistic
No,
kid or
no, not
no?
at all, not at
Oh,
all. I didn't see my first stage play till I was 21. And it's funny because I lived in New York my whole life, and uh, I just wasn't exposed to it. My family wasn't artistic at all, um, and I don't know where the impulse came from. But I was in college. I was going to be a guidance counselor. I had majored in psychology. Went to graduate school, which the first time I didn't finish. I had to go back, which is a whole nother story. Um, and I I minored. I didn't minor actually. I just took a couple of theater courses to fill out my electives, and I thought this is great. I should try to do this, and I joined a community theater in the Bronx, and I got hooked on it, and continued to act. I still act, and I started writing plays.
What was the first? Do you remember the first show that you
The
saw?
first show the first professional production I saw was Jesus Christ Superstar.
Of course.
And the second one was a revival of Streetcar, and I sat in the front, and it was with Rosemary Harris and James Farentino, and James Farentino opened a beer and spilled it on me. I remember that for some reason.
What do you love about live theater? Like, I grew up in northern Wisconsin, no access to live theater, nothing, and I found it through the Rosie O'Donnell show.
Ah,
And fell in like, and every time I've seen, like, I remember The Lion King being on her show, and then I went and saw it when it like toured in Chicago or something, and I cried, and I get goosebumps thinking about it. Like, there's something so electric about live performances, whether it's theater, music, any of that. What do you love about it?
it's immediate. It's immediate, and it's fraught with this anything can happen stuff. Especially if you don't know the work. I remember sitting in the audience for a production of Death Trap, and I didn't know it. This is before the movie came out and everything. And there was a point where the Cliff comes back through the French doors, and the audience collectively, jumps out of their seat because they don't expect it. There are those moments that happen, and you can almost touch it because they're alive. They're right there. It's I have all these moments in where I'm in the theater, and those can't be replicated in another medium.
Yeah. I realized quickly, I was a theater major in college. I realized quickly that I wasn't good at being someone, like, there was too much pressure for me. And I thought, if I screw this up, everybody else on the stage also looks stupid. And I don't want to do that for everybody.
Yeah, that's a big concern. And I will tell you that as I've gotten older, I live in terrible fear that I'm not going to be able to remember lines. I'm going to get to a point where, oh God, you can't do this anymore. And when I'm juggling different projects, whether it's writing or acting, somebody said to me, I said, I'm trying to prioritize things. And someone said to me, ask yourself, what will happen if you don't? If you're deciding what to do. And I realized there was one point where I was getting ready to do this play. And I said, okay, if I don't learn my lines, I'm going to screw other people. I'm going to mess up other people. So that's my priority. I mean, the truth of the matter is nobody's standing there waiting for my next, humor essay, but people are waiting for me to do a good job with this play. So I better know my damn lines.
Yes, that's so true. You're so talented, writing, acting, all of these. What are you working on? Like, what are you up to now? What are you working on?
I just got finished actually with I was in a short play festival, oddly enough, up here in Peekskill, New York, with one of my short plays called Justice Served, which is about a fictional gay bashing incident, and I'm starting to learn my lines for a play I'm going to be doing in June, which is another festival called Glass Ceiling Breakers, and it's from women writers, and there's going to be 6 plays, and I'm in one of them, and I'm playing I'm playing a 70-something sort of former Borscht Belt comedian person who lives in a storage unit. So
that should be fun.
Yeah.
That's fun. Do you have a favorite role that you've done?
Ooh. I think in terms of serious stuff, I think I was in a production of Hamlet, and I got to play Polonius and the Gravedigger, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
And
but
I got to work with a really good group of people in this theater called Red Monkey Theater. They do terrific work. Um, and but the other stuff, the more accessible stuff, has been fun. I played Tevye in Fiddler on the Roof, and Sydney in Death Trap. Played Felix in The Odd Couple. Um,
um,
uh, but those were a lot of years ago.
you, you're kind of who I want to be when I grow up. So this is why I wanted to talk to you, because I think this is fascinating. I want to talk about your book too. I will
Yeah,
not be ignored.
yeah.
Sounds like what I say every day when I get on this show. Tell everybody about it.
This is a book. It's a humor book, and it's got fiction, nonfiction, opinion. Someone asked me, "Is this your book, nonfiction or fiction?" And I said, "Yes," because I started writing short pieces a little bit, I guess, only about 10 years ago, and then I kind of ramped it up during the pandemic because not a lot of theater was going on, as you can imagine, and I thought maybe here's a chance to do some more writing, and I came upon a course at Sarah Lawrence College. They have a writing institute there, and they were giving a course on how to uh, bring your stories into a collection. And I thought, this is perfect. I have all these little pieces. I don't write long pieces. I'm in awe of people who write novels. I don't think I could do that, but I have all these short pieces. Because basically I can say what I want to say in a very short time, and I don't need to go on about it. Um, and I put these pieces together. I had written some of them, put them on Medium, and then I found an editor, and then the editor connected me with a publisher, and I have this book, and it's been fun. I've been doing some readings. Which kind of sort of like combines the sort of writing and the performing end of this, and that's been fun to do.
I love that you're always out there willing to learn and changing and kind of like, and still creating and like trying new things. I love that it's all an experiment for you. I think that's so cool.
Yeah, there's a there's an attitude I have about doing new things, and if it's not good for me, I won't do it. But if it's uncomfortable, maybe I will do it.
That should have been the title of the show. Damn it. Uh, what is one thing that you could recommend that someone do today, no matter their age, no matter their artistic ability? Like, what would be something that you would challenge someone to do today?
Um, I would say to someone, if you have any impulse, if you have any creative impulse, take a chance and go on a meetup group, or go to your local library, by the way, which is a great source
Yeah.
for learning, and put yourself in a position to experience something you haven't done. Not that, if you don't like something is one thing, but if you thought, maybe I'd want to do this, or I've always wanted to. This is a refrain we heard from a lot of older people when they started doing lifetime arts programs. I've always wanted to fill in the blank.
Mhm.
Well, Moore used to say, if not now, when?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, go for it. And when I meet people at readings, people will always say to me, I've always wanted to write something. I always say to them, the best thing to do is to do something where there's some accountability. So if you
Mm.
take a course, even through not I mean academic course, but if you take a writing course and you're expected to write something over the next week, it's amazing how much
Yeah.
you're willing to do this once you have some accountability.
Yeah, it's so true. I always tell people that most of my art gets hung in the walls of a garbage can, and I'm okay with that. I love it, and I think that's what's great about the arts is you get to experiment with lots of different things and figure out what you are drawn to, and then go with that. Like
Yeah.
try it and see what happens. What's the best way that people can connect with you?
I guess I have a website called EdWrite1. Here you go, edwrite1.com, and people can connect with me through that. Some of my pieces, samples are on there. My work is in a number of journals, that can be accessed through there, as well as the book that you mentioned. And I also have another small collection of short plays called Short Plays for Long Lives, and it focuses on older people.
I love that. What do you love most about your life right now?
I think the freedom to work with people I want to work with. Now, I'm not on a career track. I'm 76 years old. I'm not on a career track. So
Yeah.
basically, I look at opportunities, and if they're attractive to me, I'll take advantage of them. And if they're not, or if there are people that I don't really want to work with, then I don't. And I can sort of let my impulses go creative impulses go where they want to go. And, it's somehow to my detriment, because I tend to want to do a lot of different things. Somebody once called me a juggler, because I'm always doing more than one thing at a time.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yes, I have been told I am also that. Yes. Like, do you ever sit down? I'm like, well, just for 20 minutes here at this desk, and then that's about it. Before we head out, Ed, I want to know if you'll play a quick game with me.
Sure.
Okay. And if you get 3 out of 5, our entire studio audience is going to win.
Wow.
I don't have a studio audience. Yeah. They are going to win a copy of your book. Are you ready?
Wow. Sure.
This is the game. It's called 3 and 5. Have you ever played 5-second rule?
No.
Okay. So I have some categories here. I'm going to give you 5 different things. You have 5 seconds to tell me 3 things in that category.
Okay.
Okay. And they're all arts related.
Okay.
And if you get 3 out of 5, the entire studio audience gets a copy of your book. Okay. Are you ready?
Yep.
3 things to make music with.
Banjo, mandolin, accordion.
Perfect. Look at that. And time left. Perfect. Okay. 3 places to create.
Home, studio, theater.
Done. Again. God, you're good at this. Okay. Final. If you get this one right, the entire studio audience. So they're all right. 3 colors to use that represent the sun.
Orange, yellow, mauve.
That's it. Everybody in the audience gets a copy of Ed's book. They're all clapping. They're so excited.
Yes. I'm so grateful.
Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Richard.
Of course. And come back anytime. Anytime you do something, come and hang out, please.
Terrific. I'd love to.
All right. Have a great day.
You too.
That's our show, everybody. Winter says that time is up. The dog, my stage manager. And so we're going to head out. Tomorrow's show, we're having a birthday party for Rosie. So join us, would you? Go make your day richer. Go make somebody else's day richer. You've made mine by watching this show, and I love you for it. We'll see you tomorrow, everyone. Bye-bye.